Everybody, and today we have this series of great excerpts from great books. And today our book is The Dim Hypothesis. So we'll take those many books in which we'll take out excerpts throughout the book so that you'll be motivated. You'll be motivated to read and study the book. And today we have this from the second chapter. From the second chapter, yeah, the three archetypes. Chapter 2, we have already done Plato, Aristotle, and we have the final one, Kant. So once you know actually these three philosophers, the essence of these three philosophers, you actually know the whole world. Really, if you can think in fundamentals, essence. If you have that essence, if I know the essence, I know everything type. What they said and why they said, I mean, what was their error there and whatever. Get what they said. Get what the three said. There's only one truth, of course, but get what they said. In fact, all of three were wrong. Aristotle was least wrong. Wrong in the context. Kant. Kant, the last of the big three, starts by agreeing with his predecessor Hume. Both hold that logic and causality, principles essential to integration, both hold, Hume and Kant, that logic and causality, principles inherent to integration, are baseless. Are baseless. Neither can be derived from sense data or validated by reason. Causality and logic. Whether this last is conceived in Platonic or in Aristotelian fashion. Whether you take a Platonic view or an Aristotelian view, there is no causality and no causality, and there is no reason. Which can be derived from sense data or validated by reason. That was the viewpoint. But whereas Hume stuck at this point, gave up philosophy, Hume gave up philosophy. You should read Hume in the original. He didn't literally give up philosophy that way. That's the problem, when you take his statements literally. There's a kind of essential. He did say that. I would put it this way: in the reality, things are what they are. There is no reason going on there. So there are some reasons for the confusion. Also, it's not that Hume said there is no logic, or logic in causality. If he felt that there was no causality, then he would never accept that things are falling due to a cause. I mean, it's not that he was talking like a madman. There are issues and questions here. I'm trying to focus the listener's view on the issues and questions. Get the issues and questions, and that's what Ayn Rand said. At the root of every philosophical pursuit is an issue, which some people clarify and some people obfuscate. I'm saying that be clear about the issue. Anyway, this is my interpretation. Many people might not agree with me. This, of course, Kant, Hume said that and he was wrong and things like that. Hume was wrong. Kant was even more wrong, and then also cautioned to bring in a bit of psychology there, because you will not get a clear idea. People have to rationalize their own feelings. Hume had a certain feeling, certain distaste. Like, for example, Marx had a distaste towards money. So that led him to look at the negatives of the capitalism only, the perceived or whatever negatives, and just completely emphasize and, get distorted. These remarks are very important because issues are different. A philosopher's confusion and psychology, which leads him to some crazy philosophy, is different. Truth is different. Issues. I believe that if a person, like Ayn Rand, I believe that if a person gets the issues, he grasps the issue, all these people are gone. Even Ayn Rand is gone if she has given the answer. Even Aristotle is gone if he has given the answer. Ultimately, what I'm trying to say is that you have to know firsthand, not something vague, the issues. What are we talking? What is the issue? If you say reality is real, if you go to a common man and say reality is real, he'll say, of course, reality is real. You'll say that cat is real. He'll say, of course, the cat is real. And does it make him a philosopher? No, it doesn't. Because that's the issues of philosophy. Maybe it's very simple nowadays. But that is the issue of philosophy. Where am I? Who am I? The cat is real. Nobody will deny the cat. Then what are they denying? So what are we talking about? Finally. That is why philosophers are called loony. You know. But are they loony? They are not loony because the issues are real. There is a legitimate issue and need also, Ayn Rand said. There's a need for you to know where you are. Of course, cat is cat. Then where am I? Who am I? It's a very scientific question. For me, it's not even philosophical question. It's a scientific question. That is my approach, which I'll come to late. Maybe in a whole series. I have made a lot of playlists on that. If you don't know the concrete, inductively the concreteness of the Big Bang and the stars and the galaxies and the evolution, these are all philosophical issues. In fact, there is nothing like philosophy. Even philosophy is our own making, right? There's no philosophy in nature. I think humans say something like that. There's no reason there. They are just random facts in the universe. You are able to bring about links in it through your reason, actually. Anyway, this is I'm saying this and explaining this so much because you can fall into the pitfall, no matter what philosophy you agree to or like or something. You might fall into the pitfall if you don't know the issues clearly and if you don't rise above these philosophers and even philosophy. And that will happen only if you first-handedly understand the issues, not only in philosophy, in also physics, chemistry, biology. This is the reason, as an educator, I can see that people are half memorizing it like, and when it comes to philosophy, it gets personal. I think it gets attuned to the comfort and confidence, and I don't know. You should relentlessly question. I be like Socrates. Anyway, this much I wanted to say here. This is definitely a digression. But you can take it as my opinion. Okay. But whereas Hume stuck at this point, gave up philosophy, Kant undertakes to solve the problem by means of his Copernican revolution. Kant really thought that, like Copernicus revolutionized physics, he had revolutionized philosophy. He really thought that. The human mind, says Kant, is furnished innately with 12 a priori concepts or categories along with other kinds of innate endowments. These concepts are not ideas in the traditional sense. They have no reference to give them meaning, neither on earth nor in heaven. This is because they are not intellectual content, but mental machinery, processing mechanisms that transform the raw data from reality before this data reach our consciousness. The transformation consists in their imposing on the data a necessary structure necessary to the human mind, thereby creating the spatio-temporal world, the world of nature in which men live. Since it is our mental apparatus that makes this world, the world is subjective. Get the issue here. Our mental apparatus is there, world is there. So that is the issue. The world is there, our mental apparatus is there, and we are looking at the world. Here comes in physics, here comes in the concepts of naive realism. And even concepts. You have to be very clear of the issues here again. The issue is not that everything is subjective. The issue is that there is reality, which actually Kant was right in a way. The reality can never be known. That which gives us the sense perception can never be known. That's true. Then what do we say? What's the status then? What is the status of the cloud I am seeing and the blue sky I am seeing? In fact, the blue sky is not blue. It's a very good example I can give right now. The blue sky, which you see, is not there. There is no blue there. Then the naive realism is false. The truth is that naive realism is false. Something real. So my first-hand take is that if this is real, that which created it is also real, but which we can't perceive by color, because that gave rise to color and other senses. And concepts are based on senses. So we are just like animals. These are all just antennas. Remember, this is the issue. On these issues, given their biases and their wishes, For Kant, it was religion. Religion says that there is some point from which we can create reality, right? Or look at reality. For which he did all this gymnastics. At the root of every philosophical issue, legitimate issue, there are some people who clarify. Clarify means that some people who look at it more plain, but some people who create some extra thing. Kant definitely created that extra thing. Kant is wrong. Hume is wrong. Obviously, he's wrong. He's wrong because Hume says causality is not there, but causality is there. This is also part of causality, I say. See, what Kant is saying is true. His interpretation is that hence it is false. I say hence it is true. Are you getting me? Yes, our mind processes data that way. Yeah. He's saying you're seeing, so it is wrong. What he means by that is something is causing your sensation, right? What is causing? What does physics say? Let's say from the minimum physics, we know that it jumps from one orbit to another. And one light comes. There, the Rayleigh scattering is happening. White light is coming from sun. It's a fact. And like you can prove it in your lab also. White light is coming from the sun. It is absorbing the clouds, the atmosphere is absorbing all the colors except blue, and what is striking us is blue. And once I understand that, I can kind of feel it. That much you can do. You can kind of feel reality. And feel conceptual sensorial feel you can have of reality only, That doesn't mean I can see that which is enabling me to see. I cannot see that which is enabling me to see. And that leads to certain formulations in physics which can only be mathematical. Physics is really only description, trust me. You link one thing with another and you describe mathematically works there, they create technology. Okay, and there is a philosopher called Bill Gade who has made it more accurate according to me. He has his rope hypothesis which explains the phenomenon. So physics creates a lot of contradictions. That is merely because of their not formulating their hypotheses properly, their mathematics properly. They're stopping at a point, is my view. So I don't know how to summarize these facts, but get the issue. I think you all have got the issue. There is something which is creating your senses. Now you decide you want to be Kant or you want to be Ayn Rand or you want to be Aristotle or you want to be Plato. Issues will be the same. No matter how much you break your head, whether it's Kant or Ayn Rand, they have to accept that the glass is glass and that it is transparent and that you have to drink from it and live. That's why he wrote a book called Practical Reason. He wrote a pure reason, practical reason. So all these gyrations that you see, you read 3 philosophers, you will get the issue. And once you get the issues, you transcend those philosophers and their followers. Is it clear? In physics, in philosophy, get the issues. Get the question. Heat. What is heat? From where that question came? Reflection is also a wonder. Why, for that matter, if there's some water outside, it vanishes. That is a wonder. In fact, in the beginning of history, everything was a wonder. So my view as an educator is, okay, read everything, hold whatever you know, hold it. You have to start from your context only. But ask all the wonder questions till the end of your life. Then you will be aware of all the questions. And you will be aware of something very simple. Let me complete this since I've already started it. You will be aware of something very simple. That we are born and we'll die, and you'll have a certain surety about it. And I think that lead to a kind of happiness, a kind of freeness. That freeness I see in great writings, including religious books, that bliss, the bliss of being. Anyway, let's go ahead. The human mind, says Kant, it is over. The transformation consists in their imposing on the data a necessary structure necessary to the human, thereby creating the spatio-temporal world, the world of nature in which men live. Since it is our mental apparatus that makes this world, the world is subjective. Got the point? His view. Nature is not reality, but merely appearance. He says nature is thus not reality, but merely appearance. But he doesn't mean literally that the sky is not real, clouds are not real. He didn't say that. He says because our mind is processing that it is. World is subjective. Nature is not reality, but merely appearance. Merely reality is processed by man. Reality is processed by man. That's true. Reality is processed by man. That's true. Nobody will agree to that. Non-Kantians, anti-Kantians will not agree to that, but that's true. Reality is processed by man. And that's the only way, that's the way we perceive reality. That is a relational objective, uh, as relational objectivity of senses that Einstein proposed. That neorealism is not true. Things are not there. It is there as we see it. We see it in a particular form. So she didn't go crazy. She looked at the facts and stated what is there. She didn't add extra. This guy added extra because religion said that implicitly. Kant is good to read because you might also have the same conditioning. So if you read Kant, if you read Plato, and if you read Aristotle, all three, your inner Kant and Plato also will go kind of, will get clarified. Then you will reach a space. Then you will reach a space where you are free, truly free, intellectually free, emotionally free, in every way free. That is the power of actually philosophy. Which this Kant calls a phenomenal world. In the act of creating the latter, our minds have cut themselves off from things in themselves, or the noumenal world. True reality, therefore, is in principle unknowable, and more, it is inconceivable. That is true in physics. You can never know the sensorily that which created your senses. Really, you can never know. It is a very wonder fact. You have to reflect on this then. I'm doing this. It is being caused. This is my qualia. My mind only is sensing this. So, what is that which is creating this sensation? That's real, is what Ayn Rand says, and this is the way we perceive reality, is what Ayn Rand says, and Aristotle says. Kant says that noumenal reality is something else. He went mystical there. Are you getting me? And he really went mystical there. He is wrong, totally wrong. He is wrong in this way. Got it? He is wrong because he is imposing his subconscious desire to have a unknowable reality. Is it clear? And so Kant is fully wrong. Hume is fully wrong. They have mixed psychology and philosophy happily. Okay, in fact, Kant is most destructive. Now people are thinking, people don't know these issues. Ayn said that also, people don't read philosophy. They just want to have a license. Kant has given the license for all the hippies of the world. Got it? That is why when you go back and read these books, it's actually a little scary, because it's ontological. It's very scary. It's talking about the world, the human world. And when you read this article, it will seem very true also, no? Get the issues. That is why get the issues and read firsthand. Don't even read what I'm saying or even this book. Even after completing this book, you must go to the original. Which is why, I'm taking a long time, but which is why there is no alternative. There's no alternative to knowing the issues. Kant's revolution rejects out of hand Aristotle's theory that concepts derive from percepts. On the contrary, concepts, or at least the world-shaping ones, come first. Percepts are their product. Percepts are their product. Got it? This are their product. This is a very simple point. He's talking about something created our senses. That's true. Kant is true. Such concepts, Kant points out, cannot be validated by observation or by rationalistic deduction from so-called self-evident insights. Indeed, since reality is unknowable, there is no such thing in this context as validity or truth in the traditional sense. For instance, the law of cause and effect, one of the categories, necessarily rules the phenomena we experience and thereby creates for us a world of natural law. See, natural law is also what we do. We see the links, right? In reality, there is no such links. Is again true. True means science, like all human thought, is a way of organizing our observations of our collectively created non-reality. So he's again and again harping. I think I see it as a simple confusion on the concept of naive realism, and I feel almost it's makes sense, but to take that noumenal seriously is wrong. So later thinkers did not take noumenal reality seriously. In fact, they gave up metaphysics only. And they got into just simply the description of the world. That's what Russell did. He said these philosophical questions are actually nonsense. And metaphysics itself is mystical. They came to the conclusion. They should have not done that. They should have just solved the problem. The problem is not very difficult, is what my understanding is. Because the base is not very difficult. but no purely human, and the subjective factors such as causality can be said to correspond to reality. Science, like all human thought, is a way of organizing our observations of our collectively created non-reality. Logics, some of Kant's followers added, is similarly subjective. See, everything man does via his apparatus of senses and concepts, so it is false, is what he's saying. Because reality is facts, and what you're doing it is human. That is what Kant said. It doesn't seem so wrong, also. But the next step, that there is a nominal reality, that's also true. There is a nominal reality, which we can never know. But to connect that to God, did he connect to God? I have to check. I don't think so. If he did, he's wrong. Some of Kant's followers added a similarly subject. Since it defines necessary and therefore to Kantians a priori principles of reasoning, logic too must be an agent of distortion, another barrier between man and reality. It's not a distortion, that's how it is. Trapping him forever to the logico-centric predicament. So we'll stop here. There is a head of a institution called Vikas sir. I'll take him as a representative example of how people get Kant wrong because they don't know the issues. They can't take Kant straight. They have read Kant, yet they don't get him. Vikas sir says that there is some reality by which we can know by some other way. That is not what Kant said, but that is how Vikas sir took it while reading Kant, and he calls Kant the greatest philosopher because Kant confirmed his own desire. Vikas sir had a desire to feel that there must be some ultimate truth. This is a desire which we all have metaphysically, which has come from religion. Kant confirmed it this way. He took physics, simple physics, and converted into a peculiar kind of religious philosophy when he should have given a greater than common sense and a higher clarity about the issues. But I don't see there's something so great about. I feel this is very silly. All these concepts are very silly, I feel. And profound. And metaphysical. So what do? We become clear. I believe that we become clear about the issues and then work it out on ourselves. Because there will be subconscious premises that you might have. I have a gut feeling that if you read these three properly, your premises will go. Now, how can I believe in a God and all? But at the same time, how can I believe that what I'm seeing is real? Something created that. So there's some deeper thing there. And I become kind of free. Because I know everything. Philosophy gives you that. I know basically everything in essence, in terms of facts and meaning. Isn't it? So I know basically everything today. I know about religion, I know about philosophies, I know what kind of effects, I know how they used it, right? The whole history I know, sciences I know very deeply that something is creating this. So someone like Bill Gates accept the rope hypothesis, I know very deeply. I know two hypotheses, dim hypothesis and rope hypothesis. And I know the whole world. I know the whole world because I know the issues of philosophy. Issues of philosophy. So now we have covered the three major issues. What this itself is a great education. That is why I call the dim hypothesis the pinnacle of thought. It is not so great, but because it is metaphysics and philosophy, ultimate questions, ultimate truth about the world, isn't it great? And then once you, as one of my friends said, you know all the issues. And my belief is also that. Know all the issues, not just in philosophy. You learn physics, you learn evolution, concretize it. No, just because someone says science is correct, no God is there, evolution is true, you concretize it, you feel it. Read firsthand, be firsthand about evolution, be firsthand about astronomy, in terms of observations, and you come to a whole conclusion. Be clear about the three archetypes, and there are two combos also, which we'll do for the next. Be completely clear about everything, basically in essence, and finally what? Finally, you'll feel free because you are born and will somehow live and die. You will be very free, I believe. And if you have any psychological issues, you will be able to, with this framework and with your own reasoning power, look into those psychological issues, which should not be disrespected, which only you know, and which need not be shared with anybody. But with this framework of clearing the space, so to speak, I have found that with self-acceptance of whatever you are, traumas, whatever you have within you as a part of your history. Slowly they will even vanish because they're false. And what will remain is a simple truth that you are born, you live for a while and die, and you'll always be happy. This is the truth. If you notice, this is the truth in essence of religious books, of great poetry. So there is a higher feel, definitely. There's a bliss. That bliss is human bliss. That is there in every religious book, song. In Indian culture, it's very part of the whole thing. So religiousness is human.